Let me ask you a question. Do you think your football training is really as effective as it could be? I'm sure most of us have heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. But what if I were to tell you that that isn't always the case, especially if you're making the mistakes in your training that I'm about to go over? Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal 3 common but big mistakes that I see players making in their training all the time. Luckily, once you're aware of them, it's an easy fix that you can begin to incorporate in your next training session. This will ensure that you're actually improving from your training and are on the right path to becoming an exceptional footballer. So, let's get into it. Mistake number 1 is having a lack of intensity. If I were to set up some cones and asked you to dribble around them with speed while keeping the ball close to you, this would be a relatively easy drill, right? But what if I got you to run a couple of suicide sprints right before performing the drill with no break? How do you think you would perform then? Depending on your fitness levels, you might knock some cones over, you might lose possession of the ball, or at the very least, you might perform the drill a little bit slower. This is exactly the conditions we're looking to achieve when training. It's only during these times that you actually improve, because if you can stay focused and keep control of your body and the ball in this state, then playing when you're fresh will be a breeze. Not only that, as you push yourself, you'll find it takes more to become fatigued, which only means you're improving. So next time you're on the pitch, try to increase the intensity to the point where you feel yourself getting tired. And once you reach that point, dial in and reach new limits. Mistake number 2 is avoiding the difficult. When I was 18, I played football for my university on a full scholarship. Those were some of the best years of my life. But there was one thing I regretted, and that was I avoided training my weak foot. It wasn't terrible, but it was nowhere near as good as my right foot. And there were moments in games when I felt limited. Times when I had space for a shot, but I hesitated because it was on my weak foot. Times when I could have made a quick pass, but I took an extra second to adjust. And that second was the difference between scoring and not. Now, think about some of the best players in the world. Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar. What makes these players unstoppable? It's not just their skill. It's the fact that they have no weaknesses. You force them onto their weak foot, it doesn't matter. They still score. You press them hard, they still find a way out. But if you avoid working on your weaknesses, you leave gaps in your game. Gaps that your opponents will exploit. For me, it was my weak foot. But for you, it could be endurance, first touch, or weaker defensive skills. Whatever it is, if you ignore it, it's going to hold you back and stop you from improving. But here's the fix. Instead of avoiding what's hard, attack it. Train your weaknesses intentionally until they become a strength. Because the difference between an average player and a great player is that the great player doesn't run away from challenges. They embrace them. So ask yourself, what part of your game are you avoiding? And ultimately, what's stopping you from fixing it? And finally, do you think that your training is game realistic? Imagine a boxer stepping into the ring. Before a fight, they aren't just hitting a punching bag randomly. They're shadow boxing, simulating a real opponent in their mind. They visualize attacks, dodges, and counter punches as if they're in an actual fight. This isn't just practice, it's mental preparation. Every punch has a purpose and every movement is intentional. Now, think about your training. Are you just dribbling around cones without any purpose? Are you taking shots without imagining real defenders pressuring you? If so, you're just going through the motions. But when you start training like a boxer, shadow boxing, visualizing a real game, everything changes. You picture defenders closing in, you imagine the pressure of the final minutes, and you train in a way that directly translates to the pit. So next time you're practicing, don't just mindlessly do drills. Instead, ask yourself, how would I use this skill in a real match? Make every rep game realistic, and you'll see the difference when it actually matters. So now we know it starts here, in our training. But all of this isn't helpful if we don't actually have a training plan. So click this video if you want to find out how you can implement what we talked about in this video in your training.